Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
And even just the tension of the flamethrower not working. I mean, it's an
And then Matey Boy has got a fully functioning flamethrower.
Yeah.
Why don't you try your flamethrower, mate?
It's just,
Do you think you're conscious? Do you know you're the thing?
Blair definitely knew, the one who they locked away.
Right.
And then he was like, oh, let me back. And they're like, we're definitely not going to let you back.
I've never thought of that, like how much of the thing are you and how much are you like...
But that's again why that scene with the blood is so good, because it shows everyone's faces and they're like, are they worried that the person next to them is, or are they thinking, oh, I'm going to get found out? It's a brilliant...
That's why it's so good, because there's all that going on and there's all that
amazing.
tension.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today I'm joined by David.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hello.
And as always, Helen.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about John Carpenter's important The Thing.
Thank you, as always, to the mighty people for the mighty, mighty tunes. And thanks to Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills.
Please do remember to write a review and rate us on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you can do where you listen to the podcast, because it really does help us.
And you can join in the conversation with us on Twitter
At FlixWatcherPod and on Instagram
at Flixwatcher. Hello, film fans. Thanks for listening to this episode. Joining us today, we have Sam and David. If you would like to say hello to our listeners and tell them about the work that you do, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. I am an illustrator. I mostly do pop culture related works. Over the last few years, I've been fortunate to have made some licensed posters for some of my favourite movies, like Back to the Future, Alien, Die Hard, and some other classics. And so I try and do pop culture painting where I can.
So you've worked for like Marvel and Disney people. How do those gigs come about?
That's true. I have. I have a UK agent, and then in the States, I also work with a group called the Poster Posse, which started out as a collective of, I guess you'd say, fan artists. And then that started to get noticed by the studios, and then they started to commission the artists to create pieces. So yeah, earlier this year, I was invited to do a piece to promote Captain Marvel before that came out, like a social media poster. And then a bit more recently, I was able to do a Blu-ray cover for Spider-Man Far From Home, which was a real sort of dream come true, as you can imagine.
Nice. And do you get to pick and choose the films? Do you ever turn any ones down where you're like, it's a bit shit, I don't want to have my name associated with that?
Well, with the classic movies, it's really nice. So I work with clients who own the licenses where you're able to do posters. So then it's a case of, I'd really love to do a poster for this film. Like, I mostly work as a portrait artist, but some of the licenses actually don't let you include some of the actors. So then I've kind of found this other avenue where I've started to explore how you can do something that pays homage to the movies in a different way, like literally from another angle. So I've done pieces for like Jurassic Park and Jaws and Alien that all actually, and Die Hard, where I only just showed the top of Bruce Willis's head because I couldn't show his face. But, as long as you get the hairline right, it can work. So it's kind of opened up another avenue actually where the license kind of limits you.
But it gives you a different creative outlet for it, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's opened a whole other sort of side to my work that I didn't know was there actually. So it's been good.
And who are you? Good sir.
So I'm David Litchfield, and I'm also an illustrator. So I illustrate mainly children's books, so picture books, which I never thought that I would do. I thought I'd do, quite cool things like Sam, like movie posters and working
Well,
with
isn't
bands.
illustrating children's books is pretty cool?
Yeah, it turns out it's really cool, and it's really, and I absolutely love it. I don't want to do anything else now. Like, I find it a real sort of freeing process. Like, I can just let my imagination run wild, and there's like no limits in children's books. Kids will just sort of accept the world that you present to them and will just go with it. And I absolutely find that like a really exciting sort of form to work in. So yeah, I mainly work in children's books. I write my own, and I also illustrate for other authors. And I also do book covers and a few other sort of editorial pieces sometimes, but it's mainly in the field of children's books.
Do you have a favourite like animal that you have to draw quite regularly?
My first book is a book called The Bear and the Piano, and that's really taken off and become quite popular. So I'm really fond of that bear. I find him, he'll always be with me. In fact, I'm thinking of getting a tattoo of the bear somewhere
why
on my
not?
body. Yeah.
If you want to get a tattoo,
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I
one
recommend getting
reason
one.
why not is because I'm an absolute wuss and I'm terrified of the process of having a tattoo. But I like the idea of it a lot. So yeah, maybe one day.
yeah, I mean, obviously, I think children's illustrators are definitely cool. I mean,
Yeah.
when I
We are
used
cool.
to read,
We are cool.
when I used to read, obviously, for us it was Roald Dahl growing up.
Yeah.
And when you read the books that weren't illustrated by Quentin Blake, it was always like,
A little
That's
bit of a
good.
letdown.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some great illustrators also at
Yeah.
Rolled Up, but I absolutely feel disappointed when it's not Quentin Blake.
Yeah.
It just those two just went together just so perfectly.
magnificently.
I met him recently.
Quentin?
Well, a couple of years ago. I say met him. I kind of like was a quivering.
Stalked him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
stood
was
next
at,
to
like,
him.
He was at an event and he had his entourage and stuff. And I went up to him and I just couldn't find any words to say. So I was just like, hi. And he just looked at me like some kind of oik. And then I just moved on. So, met him is a strong word, but he seemed
were in
very
his
nice.
presence.
I was in his presence.
you breathed some of the air that he exhaled.
yeah.
And that was good enough. So we're here talking about The Thing, which is your choice today, Sam.
Yeah.
Can you tell us why you chose it and give us a 2-minute synopsis?
I just think this film is incredible, and I can't actually remember the first time I saw it, but I feel like I've always known it. Like, it just, the moment you have seen it, it just stays with you, and it's just an incredible horror film. Kurt Russell's amazing. There's just so many cool. Anyway, we'll get to that. But in terms of a synopsis, a team of American research scientists in the Antarctic are attacked by an alien that's been in the ice for 100,000 years. And this alien can take over and assimilate any other life forms.
And then it attacks them.
And yeah, it all goes from there.
Nice. Helen, you're a horror fan. I can tell by the smile on your face you're a big fan of this. But am I right?
Yeah, I can't remember when I first saw it. It was quite a while ago, and had wanted to see it for a lot longer before the time I got to see it. I think it's great as well. Not all John Carpenter's films are as good as this. This and Halloween are probably the best, and this is the best version of The Thing as well.
So how many versions are there, to clarify?
Well, there's sort of 3. I mean, I haven't seen the first one, but I imagine it's quite different.
Right.
And then there's the sort of straight remake that came out a bit more recently in 2011. Which
Have you seen that one?
I've seen that one, yeah. I can't...
So I thought wasn't that supposed to be set up with the Norwegian people before it gets to this?
I think I haven't actually seen it. I've seen some of the sort of CG and a bit. I think it's like a prequel that's sort of also a remake.
Right.
So it's like a homage. Maybe it's a bit, akin to like Force Awakens in that sense of like where it's trying to do a remix of some of the things that worked and also expand the story. But the CG effects, they look sort of okay, but they definitely don't have the. Whereas the effects in the 1982 film just are timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Rob Bottin, these were done.
So what else did he do? Because wasn't he quite
American.
prolific?
I went on to I think they did RoboCop also.
Right.
He was only 22 when he did these makeup effects.
Really?
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, and to this day, I don't think really anything has come close to it really in terms of the being like. I think Alien is like a more terrifying film, but The Thing is the most horrifying film I can think of in terms of just the unbelievable effects when everything starts to like. It's also like every time you watch it, I still find like I'm seeing new things in it.
David, what are your thoughts?
Well, I actually do remember the first time I saw The Thing. It was, so I have an older brother, 7 years older than me, and we used to share a bedroom,
right?
Which is crazy now that I think about it. But we had a little black and white TV in our room, and it was on late at night on like Channel 4 when I was about, I don't know, 9 or 10. And I stayed up and watched it with my brother in our dark bedroom. And I just, the thing that stands out is that scene with the guy, the defibrillator.
Yep.
Defibrillator?
Yeah. Defibrillator,
That's the one. That scene. And like the guy's hands get chopped off, and then you just think, well, that's one of the worst things I've ever seen, especially as a 10-year-old. And then it just gets worse and worse. And then the guy's head, like his neck stretches, and then his head drops off, and you think, right, well, that's now the new worst. And then the head grows legs, and you just think, how is this horror just carrying on? And I remember, I mean, that, you know, I was way too young to be watching that, obviously, but absolutely, even on a little black and white TV in the, I don't know, mid-90s, early 90s or whatever, that scene really stays with me. And when I watched it the other day,
all the nightmares came flooding back.
Man, I was still terrified watching that
10
scene.
again.
Absolutely.
So how old? I mean, you said you can't remember exactly, Sam, but how old were you guys? You said you were about 10, David.
Yeah.
How old were you when you kind of saw it? What kind of bracket were you?
Maybe about 16.
Okay. Oh, so
maybe.
not a bit older.
Yeah, I didn't manage to see it as young as I would have liked to.
Right.
Unfortunately,
My older
that was
brother
the availability of it.
He was a terrible influence on me, and sharing a room with him was obviously very bad for these kind of films.
Because I was 38 when I first saw it.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to have less affinity with this film as compared to you guys.
Well, I was watching like martial arts films all in my teens, so
Yeah.
I didn't really see it. I think I was probably early 20s, like after university.
Okay.
So I came to it.
See,
later.
I think you're missing out because you need to watch it on a kind of an old VHS kind of scratchy.
I can kind of get that.
Yeah, and where the sound's all wrong and stuff. It's one of those films that sort of needs to be viewed like that at least once, I think.
I think it's one of those things where I would have seen it in the old school video before, like pre-blockbusters.
Yeah.
So it was your local video store,
Sure.
which was like Rainbow Video for me, Sheila Hume. Doesn't exist anymore.
Shout out to,
Exactly to the
to the distant past.
yeah. And they would have had, you know, when you kind of look at the horror section, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
and you kind of pick up so it's like this is like Nightbreed for me. I was like, I don't think I can deal with that, to be honest with you, and I wouldn't be able to take it out anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, horror wasn't that particular thing, but I can guess, I can see it from other people that this is like the pinnacle of like the body horror genre or like tropes.
It's weird, like those video covers, they're just so distinctive and so like representative of that age, and you know, Stranger Things obviously and all these kind of things tapping into that kind of style. Like for me, when I think of The Thing, I do think of things like Hellraiser as well. They're just continually packaged into that.
Well, also,
era.
in terms of packaging, the other thing that's, as a poster artist, it's the classic Drew Struzan poster, of course, with just the Parker, and that was just basically he famously had like one night to make that poster, and he had no reference material. So the kind of the Parker and all the light coming out, there's literally just him, which he set up the lighting for it, and did all in one evening, which
that's
is insane.
him wearing the Parker.
Him wearing the Parker.
That's actually a photo that's been like stylized, is it?
Well, he painted it.
Okay.
It's a photo of himself.
Right.
So he did all the lighting, he painted it, and then he had to like ship it the next day. So the crazy thing would be like he actually just had to post the original, I think, while it was still slightly wet.
Right.
It's unbelievable to think of that nowadays. So, and then,
Well, now it's all Adobe Illustrator.
well, yeah.
Control Shift Alt S export for web.
Well done on your shortcuts.
Well, yeah. That's one of the reasons.
No, sorry, Command. Sorry, I'm a Mac guy.
That's one of the reasons Drew said that he retired, was like what was happening was like, so he did some artwork for Revenge of the Sith. And then the studio kind of wanted like Darth Vader to be bigger in his composition, whereas he felt it had the perfect balance. They were then able to like take Darth Vader, make him much larger,
right?
And then it felt like it was being taken out of his hands as the artist, because the marketing team were going to kind of take over, and that's where he felt it was time for him to retire.
Oh no!
Oh, he's kind of done. He's come back a few times. He's a bit like Miyazaki in that way.
Did he Harry Potter?
And Jay-Z?
Was it Harry Potter?
Yeah, but he did. That's right.
Okay.
He did the first Harry Potter.
He did that after.
And I think that was the point where it's like, okay,
right.
Or they didn't ask him back for Chamber of Secrets.
Oh, okay.
So
because he wouldn't corroborate. He wouldn't make Harry bigger.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't make Voldemort
You make
bigger.
that scar a bit bigger, please. As a result, I think of seeing it at 38, I found it a bit ridiculous. I didn't find it scary or didn't find it gory. I found it gory. I was like, ugh. Yeah. But for you guys seeing it at a younger age, it must have been like you say, you just thought, even on a black and white screen. So the first time you even saw it in colour must have been a different...
I think there was a big gap. But I think I did see it on video. I did see it on video like probably about 5 or 6 years after that.
Yeah.
Like, when I was like in my teens and stuff. I don't know. I still like watching it again the other day. I still find... I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's almost like the ET thing. Like ET just looks like a big ball of rubber.
Yeah.
But you still fall in love with ET, and you're still. And then when they kind of made the CG version, I wasn't as much as in love with ET. They redid.
What?
Did you not know about it? Yeah, it's kind of been hidden. Spielberg's kind of hidden it, but they re-released it. What, for the
early 2000s, right?
20th anniversary or something, where they CG'd ET, and it's just horrifying. It's like he's got all these weird expressions now, and
what, for the whole film or just for certain bits?
Yeah,
of it?
certain thing. I mean, it's like, I don't know what 30-40% of the ETs are CGI'd.
And there's like an extra scene and stuff. Yeah.
In a kind of. I didn't dream this, right?
I've seen it.
Is it the same version where he replaces the guns with walkie-talkies?
Yeah.
So there was there was a recut of it, which I think they maybe like inserted some bits that they couldn't originally do because the technology wasn't there.
But I think that's kind of, you just deal with that, and that's why
Absolutely.
Lucas has kind of fallen foul of trying to replace stuff that, okay, you can't do it. Well, that's how the film is remembered. And
this whole ET re-release kind of proves that you do, the art of filmmaking is being affected by CGI in many ways.
Well, interesting though, but E.T. was also kind of blamed for the lack of success that The Thing had, because that was seen as like, that was the sci-fi film that people wanted at the time.
E.T. was.
In a recession, they wanted the more hopeful, happy alien.
The Thing is like the anti-E.T., isn't it? Because it came out like a week after or something, right?
Yeah, that same summer, yeah.
I think the thing, I really, really do like the special effects, and I just think they're so ridiculous and bonkers that when I watch it, I just find it really, really funny. But I think it's also the kind of the atmosphere, and when you're watching it, you really don't know who is infected. And it's, it's had such kind of a legacy as well. I mean, the X-Files did an episode that was pretty much based on this. And it's just the relationship that these guys have, and that they're completely isolated, and they've just seen like one of the dogs. So obviously the Thing starts out as one of the dogs, and watching it again this time, the way like they got the dog to act is amazing, because you're like, that dog's not a dog.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like a dog, and it doesn't act like a dog, and it's really weird, and it's a little bit creepy. But it's like really good dog acting, really good. And and you just kind of don't really know who is infected and who's not, and who's gonna like die in
like
a weird
paranoia thing. Because I think it's the paranoia thing that gets to you, got to me more than the head sprouting the legs. But there were some freaky things for me. Like I said, the first guy that they realised, after they realised you can get infected by it, the first guy who kind of is halfway through his transformation into a human, and his hands are like freaky, like
little claw hands.
Like lobster claw hands.
Yeah, sure.
That's like, for me, it's like,
it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, when he kind of runs out into the snow, and then it's as he turns, and it's the face that he does, and then also the sound effects.
Yeah,
the sound is on
sound.
is so great.
It does.
So horrifying.
It's like it goes past the point of. And The Exorcist kind of does this, where it goes past the point of ridiculousness, where it's just so ridiculous that it goes into this sort of different realm of just being absolutely terrifying. And that scene in particular, the face he pulls is ridiculous. And you should be laughing at it, but it just really affects me, that scene in particular. Yeah. And obviously the head scene, which I will never get over.
The head coming off, stretching off, and then with the dog thing, I was, because I lived in Norway for a few years, so I speak Norwegian. And that first scene, it comes out, and the Norwegians are like like screaming at them in Norwegian. And when he's just shouting, it's like, oh, he's saying that's not a dog, it's some kind of thing. Get away from me, you idiots! So I was just like reading as the film came out.
So if you'd have been there, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, I'd be like, guys, he said, but he still doesn't really explain what it is. He just goes, it's a thing. It's like, what does that even mean? That's not. It doesn't actually help anyone. But then I thought that I did really like that dog, and I think that's the exact kind of dog I want, is a husky. If they weren't so like boisterous.
Not one that turns into the thing.
No, not one that turns into the thing.
Just checking.
I'll take it back to the.
It's such a great opening though, just the wide shots, and then you just what is this? Why is the dog running? Like, well, why are there people chasing a dog?
Yeah.
Cruel people. Is this doing this for fun? And then the way it just very quickly unravels, like they're still trying to land the helicopter. Mm-hmm. One that's trying to shoot it, then they blow the helicopter up because they drop the grenade.
Yeah,
it's so good. You're straight in. And the other thing about it is like all the different. We don't really get to find out much, if anything, about the characters, but you feel like they've already been there for ages. It's like they know each other really well, and or some of them like some of the characters. Some of them are already not liking other characters, and it's like
that's where the factions kind of draw the natural line.
It's
and
quick to establish the characters as well.
There's not much backstory really, is there, with them? It's
apparently there was in the screenplay, like there was a little synopsis, like McCready's meant to be like a Vietnam veteran, and as the pilot and everything. And apparently it was actually he became the main character in the edit. So originally they were more hedging their bets, and it was more of an ensemble,
right?
And then they actually defined it to be more built around McCready.
Because I think was Kurt Russell the most well-known actor out of them in the first place?
I guess. I mean, was this after Escape from New York? I'm just trying to think. I think that was 1981, right?
But he'd been working in film since he was a young kid, though, wasn't he? So
he was probably quite.
That's true. He was a child actor, wasn't he? Yeah. So I guess.
But I would have thought. I don't know if the other maybe the boss guy, I think he seems to ring a bell.
Oh yeah, Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, that's right. He's like a character actor, right? He's been in a few sort of. He's been in a lot of films in the 70s. I seem to recall him popping up in certain scenes.
Well, I guess for a while, because he's kind of doing the stuff on the computer, like analysing how it's going to spread and if it gets to the city. So for a minute, it's like he's.
Oh, I'm thinking of the guy who's really in charge.
Yeah, the guy that shoots the Norwegian guy from the window.
Oh, of course.
What's his name? He's quite a famous actor. But I think Kurt Russell, Hollywood-wise, would have been the one who
the biggest one in there. What we like, Kurt Russell has, like we said, he's a child actor, very, very prolific. Hasn't really slowed. Well, he's slowed down a bit, but he's still everyone of every age knows Kurt Russell, don't they?
Is keeping him in business.
Yeah. Do you think he's keeping him in business though, or is he just thinking? Is he just like? I think he's still got kudos, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah,
he's still.
I have to say, watching this film, because over Christmas, my son got absolutely obsessed with the Christmas Chronicles on Netflix.
Yeah. Oh, that was a Kurt Russell one, wasn't it?
He was Santa Claus in that one. Right. And seeing him as Santa, this adorable Santa, like the most perfect Santa you could ever wish for, and then watching this film.
So, are we saying that after the thing,
it's quite
he's trapped
jarring.
in the snow, he goes to the North Pole.
But even worse than that was
becomes Santa.
At Christmas, I also watched The Hateful Eight. Yeah. Where he's in that, and I just could not adjust from, because he kind of looks like Santa in The Hateful Eight as well. He's got the big bushy beard.
And there's another connection there, because the theme music that wasn't used by Morricone for The Thing ended up being used by Tarantino.
Oh, yeah. Was it Morricone that scored this?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like, that kind of synthesizer beat that it uses. It feels so John Carpenter. But actually, this was apparently the first time Carpenter didn't score his own movie.
Because I didn't actually realise that he was... Which was he first? Was it director first or composer first, or he just kind of?
I think he just kind of did
composed out of necessity almost.
Yeah, it's like I think he just made music for his films.
I think it was because no one else was kind of doing what he wanted, so he.
And
was
the
just
music's
like,
awesome. Such a good musician. I mean, it's all done on synthesizer, right? It's
exactly. Yeah,
Escape from New York,
incredible. But then I love the score in this as well. And it's so just perfectly creepy and just it goes. It's like goose hairs kind of thing. You feel it.
Is this your favourite Kurt Russell film?
I think so. I haven't really seen that many films. I couldn't really name.
You would have. I think you'd probably know more than you think with Kurt Russell.
but ones that I've seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Interesting. I think it probably is mine. I do like Escape from New York a lot. Big Trouble in Little China.
That's probably,
Yeah.
that's probably my favourite.
See,
was
I
that
can't
John
really-
Carpenter as well?
That was,
Yeah.
They he's like his De Niro, I guess. His Martin Scorsese's to De Niro.
Yeah.
He was going to be Han Solo, right, Kurt?
That's right, yeah.
And you can totally see it. I think you could.
Yeah, I think we could have all bought that.
Yeah.
And never heard of Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So I think looking back, the film I used to love most with him in it when I was younger, even though it's very problematic now, is Overboard.
Oh right, yeah.
Is that?
Yeah,
with
see, I've never.
Goldie Hawn?
That's not one of my childhood memories.
Yeah. That's
So I've not
Goldie
seen
Hawn where
Yeah, and they go on the run.
No, Goldie Hawn
No.
she falls overboard and she gets amnesia, and then he kind of
it rings a
says,
bell.
"Oh yeah, you're part of our family. You're my wife. These are your kids. Can't you remember how to wash the dishes?"
That's awful.
But in the 80s, I was like, "Da-da-da."
But that's how they met, right? And
Yeah, I
then,
think so.
and now
In
they're
the
married.
on the film set, not the actual incident. We should point
Based on
out.
a true story.
Not a problematic incident.
But yeah, Big Trouble in Little China is probably my favorite. He did a lot of Disney films.
Yeah.
Those kind of the world's greatest athlete and stuff like that. I think were
I honestly never knew he was a child actor. He's
Really?
always had that kind of old grizzled face in my mind. Even when he was young, he still kind of had that slightly grizzled face.
maybe just grows a good beard like straight
I think
away.
so, yeah.
Like, bosh.
I think, he's definitely really only been McCready.
Have
For
you
you.
not seen the Christmas Chronicles?
No.
No,
Oh man,
I
you've
know
seen
it's
it.
a
it's
Netflix.
great, yeah.
It's a Netflix joint, isn't it? But
It's really, it's like, it's. I mean, it's very old school, but it's almost. I think it's the most perfect Christmas film since Santa Claus the movie.
He's up there with Richard Attenborough.
Yo, totally.
Very different.
Seriously, my son
What a miracle.
My son was 6 at the time when Christmas just turned 7. We must have watched that film over Christmas about 25 times. Like I know all the words to the songs and stuff, but
there's songs in it.
yeah. He says he goes to jail, Santa, and he gets them all party. And
Spoilers.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, sorry.
We're venturing into
Yeah.
alternative territory here. Maybe an opportunity to
Definitely do another
We'll come back
podcast.
for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
the sequel's coming out.
Christmas
so-
special.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's good news.
Well, let's head to the scores.
So welcome to the patented Flixwatcher scores. All of our scores are out of 5. You may have decimal places if you wish. And we will start with you, Sam, with the recommendability, please.
I'm going straight in with 5 for this because with the slight caveat that it would depend what other horror movies you'd seen. If you'd never seen a horror movie, like maybe not start with possibly the best one.
Well, because it sets the bar too high.
Yeah, because then
All right.
then it's downhill from here. I mean, there's obviously loads of great horror films, but I think this is at the very top.
Do you is it your best horror film?
Possibly it's up there with like The Shining, and I guess Alien as well.
See, Aliens, I can get the Alien vibe. That's fucking fantastic. But it's not
Yeah.
really horror. Is it horror?
I don't know. It's interesting because you're saying it's a horror film, whereas I probably would call it a sci-fi first and a horror second,
Would you
or equal.
Would you call the Thing a sci-fi first and a horror second?
Yeah,
Right.
or a
Well, they're very similar.
slash.
A slash.
Yeah.
Horror / sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like if you swap space for the snow, and and it's also like
I guess you got this rogue element which you're not sure
Yeah.
how it works, how it functions.
There's the body horror element as well.
Body horror,
the alien
yeah, exactly.
comes out of the chest.
But it's also like Aliens because the idea of the Norwegian camp is like LV 426,
Good.
where they go to the planet and they're trying to work out what's happened already.
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's interesting kind of
And also the
crossovers there.
trapped element, I guess. Like
Yeah,
you're trapped on a
claustrophobia,
ship.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So without giving away the spoilers to Alien, which has the grossest moment for you? Is it The Thing or is it Alien?
I would still say The Thing.
Okay.
For me.
Yeah, there's. Okay.
We'll go to Sam whilst you're deliberating.
I'm going to say Alien, again without spoilers, but I think the effects in The Thing are the most horrifying. There's something about Alien that's just that little bit creepier.
Right.
It's more unsettling because in a way they show less. Because The Thing you see so much.
Yeah.
Like you say, it just kind of keeps happening. It's like, why is it still happening?
Like the alien has the one scene Whereas The Thing, it's relentless. It's like it's pretty much the whole movie is gross.
Helen.
So I think because I was expecting it from The Thing, Alien is more terrifying. Because I know when I watched that for the first time, I was not expecting that.
No.
And it's the kind of the reactions of everyone else that makes Alien so fun and delicious and disturbing.
Yeah, I think for me, the Alien's a bit more disturbing. It's got the most horrific scene for me out of the two. Sam, recommendability score. You didn't give us a score.
I was in straight at 5.
5.
Oh, you did 5.
Yeah,
Sorry,
5,
I missed that in the.
I just think, you just need to see it if you haven't. So,
David,
I think I would say 5. Just everything, even like the structure of this film, I think is like it's masterfully done. The fact that we come straight into the story, like we say, and there's not much in terms of like character build up. It's just like you're straight in this situation.
Yeah.
And I love that. And the setting, the characters, everything about it is 5.
Helen.
I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to go for a solid 4. I mean, I really, really like this, but it's interesting that you watching it for the first time now did not love it as much as maybe someone who's.
But that's also me, who's classically not asked about horror in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
But also, I think the special effects. It's interesting because I think they're great and I think they're really weird and they're really fun. I don't quite know if they've aged as well as some of maybe the other effects.
I think because when David was saying about it being relentless, because there's like lots and lots of it all the time. So what do you think if they had like half the amount of gross stuff, it would have stood the test of time in the same way that Jaws perhaps does, because you don't see the shark so much?
I don't know. I just think if maybe just tastes have changed a little bit. And around that time, it was trying to basically see what you could do with special effects and push it and keep doing it in weird and wonderful ways. But I don't know. I think that maybe now the special effects are maybe a bit silly, a bit funny. And I think that kind of works against the tone of the film a little bit, because I think the rest of the film is really, really strong. But watching the special effects again, I was a bit like, oh, there are...
So it's not the standard, it's like you're pushing it in a way that takes you out of the film almost.
A little bit, yeah. Because I think the way that it sets up the kind of who's infected, who's the creature, and we haven't talked about the ending. The ending is like really kind of like grim and desperate as well. Having those effects that have now become what the film is known for kind of takes away a little bit from how good the rest of the film is. But I do really like it, and if you haven't seen it and you're not squeamish, then definitely see it, or if you are squeamish, then do watch it.
So I think I'd seen most of the gory bits without having seen the film itself.
You know they're coming,
and I think there was always just like, oh, this is the film, because like the bit where you talk about with the defibrillator, because the amount of documentaries I've seen, do you know actually it's a guy who's an amputee, and they for that like 3-second shot where you see with no hands, I was like, okay, with no arms, I was like, okay, so I know how that's done. And it's in the upside down head with the legs coming out loads of times. And hadn't seen like the things with the dogs, but I think I'm fascinated that this guy was 22 when he was doing this, because that's
like what an imagination.
Maybe putting a massive stamp on the industry. Like, guys, this is what I can do. So maybe that's what he was kind of thinking. I would like to see what the script looked like and how he tried to expand that.
Like his influence on it.
I think it's impossible. Like when you watch it, you can't help but be impressed by the effects. But then that also, in a sense, maybe does take you out of the film, because you're kind of going, "Wow, this is like incredible that they did this." Because you can see the effort that's gone into making it. Whereas in Alien, just the way the effects are done, they're more like get the job done and then that's it. It's almost like show as little as you need to of the alien.
But then, the mind-blowingly good scene where they've got the blood in the petri dish.
See, that's the tenser scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's no special effect. Well, at the end, it kind of all hell breaks loose. But the actual tension, there's no special effects involved in that at all. It's just 6 guys in a chair.
Because that when his boss explodes, and then he had the fucking chair. that for me was the biggest jump, actually, when he just completely turned.
And even just the tension of the flamethrower not working. I mean, it's an obvious thing to do.
That didn't work for too long, though, for me. I was just like, click, click, click. It was like for 5 minutes he couldn't get his flamethrower to work. And then Matey Boy has got a fully functioning flamethrower.
Yeah.
Why don't you try your flamethrower, mate?
Yeah.
Well, he's too scared, isn't he? And then it's just
too scared, I guess. When you got a thing who could be any one of you, and you presume, do you think you're conscious? Do you know you're the thing?
Yeah, I think maybe you've got a fear about it,
right?
Because Blair definitely knew that he was the thing.
Which one was Blair?
The one who they locked away,
right?
And then he was like, "Oh, let me back," and they're like, "We're definitely not going to let you back." And he was like, "Great, because I'm going to be doing some things under the floorboards while you think that I'm locked away in here." So
yeah.
But
when they locked him up, I think it's interesting, is it like when they lock him up, because he's like the most rational in the sense of like, this is like, we all need to kind of, we're all going to die here. And then maybe he's not at that point, even though he kind of goes crazy. But then when he's saying, "Oh, yeah, can I come back now?" He probably has been
I don't know. I've never thought of that. Like, how much of the thing are you? How much of the thing are you? And how much are you like?
Because that's again why that scene with the blood is so good, because it shows everyone's faces, and they're like, are they worried that the person next to them is, or are they thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get found out"? It's a brilliant.
That's why it's so good, because there's all that going on, and there's all that tension.
I think I would have loved more of that kind of side of things.
Sure.
yeah, they could have definitely made that a bit bigger and maybe eke that out a little bit longer with the tension.
Yeah.
But
Or just have more scenes like that, because it was always like, yeah, keep an eye on Matey Boy. I can't remember. I don't know any of the names apart from Mac, and now I know he was called Blair. But when Blair said, it was Blair said, keep an eye on Thingy.
Yeah.
So everyone did have suspicions as to who it might be, and it might be drawn along the kind of party lines as to, well, I don't like him. He's a bit of a knobhead. Maybe it's him. Let's
and then
cark him off anyway.
The whole like sort of bumping off Matey Boy who wasn't a thing.
Oh yeah,
who
so
his blood was.
Yeah, so is
I
it
can't remember his name now.
Clark goes in with the knife,
and
then he's find out that he wasn't, and then like Childs is like, so you just murdered.
But also just that ending is just, like, are they still there? Are they still like looking at each other? Which one is it? Is it me or is it you?
So recommendability score for me, I'm going to go for a 3.8. I think it's a classic. If someone asks, should I watch it? Are you afraid of gore? No. Yeah, watch it. I think I do like the way it is physical special effects. Yeah. And I can only think probably one of the main reasons I wouldn't want to watch the new ones, because it would be CGI mainly, I'm sure, and that wouldn't look as good. And I really love how
it's not very good, because they just take the best bits from this one, and kind of fudge them into a story. And you're like, well, I've already seen those in the other one better.
And I think one thing I really love about I've not seen the new Dark Crystal TV series, but I love the fact they've done it all like physical puppets and stuff. So I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that.
If they'd done that as a CGI fuckathon, as someone who previously came on this podcast was quoted, which I love, I think I'd be less interested. And when you talk about that ET, so that ET version came out in 2001.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because that just sounds. They just weren't at that stage where CGI
he's not all like that. There's just some bits where I think it's mainly where they couldn't really make him walk properly. So there's not many like long shots, I think.
But I can understand. That's the point I mean, though, because it's still with Jurassic Park they used CGI very, very sparingly, didn't they? But it sounds like with the ET, they put it in there when it didn't need to be.
No one's a fan of it.
No.
I think Stephen was chatting with George, wasn't he?
George influenced him a bit too much.
There's a late night drinking.
Play with your classics. Play with your classics.
It's like there was talk of doing it with Jaws as well, and I think that whole ET experience stopped them in their tracks to do that.
Well, I don't know if suddenly like Disney buy him out, they might just do it.
Don't
remake
That'd be the worst. That'd be the worst.
Remake it with a friendly dolphin.
Repeat viewing score, Sam.
Well, I'm trying to think. I think I've seen this, I guess, 6 or 7 times now.
And will you continue to watch it?
I will continue to watch it. I feel like it's almost like a bit of a Christmas movie with all the snow and everything. Gets me in the mood.
It does look ace though, doesn't it? I mean, without that helicopter going across, if they were to do a shot-for-shot remake, A, lots of CGI, B, green screen.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have the weights behind it that this does.
I'm trying to think what the score. I think I'll go with the 4.
All right. You can have decimal places, by the way, guys. As many as you want. David. repeat viewing score?
I'm going to say 4.5 then in that case, because
how many times do you reckon you've seen it?
I've probably seen it 5 or 6 times as well.
So that by that rationale, the Kurt Russell Christmas special is 5 times better.
I was forced to watch that, so half of those.
Half.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very rewatchable. Once you know the ending and once you know the situation, it's almost like you have to watch it again to sort of try and spot, when the people are turning and what, So there's that factor to it. And yeah, just watching it I do love those special effects. So just watching it for that and just knowing that you're going to be grossed out is always fun.
Helen?
So I'm going to go for a 4. I've probably seen it about 6 times, although have I seen it? I may have not seen it since I'd seen the 2011 version. So it's been a while for that. But I think it's quite a good length as well. It's an hour 48, so it's not too long. And definitely watching it this time, there was some bits that I'd completely forgotten.
Yeah.
So yeah, a 4.
I'm going to go for 2.5. Don't think I'm going to watch it that often. I will watch it again at some point. But I did, considering the time, the first time I watched it till now was probably like 6 months apart.
Yeah, you watched it fairly recently.
Yeah. But then, like you say, David, it's the kind of thing of like, trying to work out, almost like Cluedo, when are they the thing? When did they become the thing? It doesn't really help you. I'm not sure you can really unpick it, can you? Or were you guys able to figure out when like the first guy turned into the thing?
I listened to an interview with the cinematographer Dean Cundy, and apparently there's a bit. So in the blood test scene, they did this thing where there's a light in everyone's eyes that isn't the thing,
right?
And then is it Palmer? He hasn't got the extra light, so his light. The light in his eyes is flat.
Oh, really?
And then he's the one that's going to turn.
Oh, wow.
So that doesn't happen all the way through. It's just in that one scene. But
right.
then maybe there's other things like that.
To become infected, do they need to be somewhere near kind of the proximity of the thing being the thing? So does it account for like where they are when? Yeah,
I guess they've got to have been alone with it. I mean,
because that was the whole point about he'd been alone with the dog, which is why that's the kind of the suspicion about that.
And then he's actually fine, which is it's great because you're not sure, but also like when it's happening, it's like so obvious. In a way, the aliens it's a bit of a weird. It's actually the worst system if you want to assimilate.
Yeah,
because it's pretty obvious when it's happening.
You need a bit of time, don't you?
You want to do it. Yeah, it needs to do it in a more subtle way. But
small screen score, Sam.
I mean, I would love to see it on the big screen, and I never actually have.
I would have thought this is a Prince Charles classic.
I would have thought if they must have done a John Carpenter season or double bill or triple bill or something.
What else would be in John Carpenter's season of the Prince Charles for you?
Halloween. Got to say The Fog.
Never seen that. Never seen either of those.
I've only seen The Fog once, actually.
I don't think The Fog is great, but there's lots of bits that I like in it.
Yeah.
For me, They Live, Big Trouble in Little China, and this.
Yeah.
There's the...
and Escape from New York. Yeah,
this and Starman for me. And
God, yes, Starman. I forgot
apparently
Big Trouble.
And he made Starman after this because of the backlash.
So it was a response to it, wasn't it?
Yeah, because everyone was like...
That's kind of like E.T., isn't it? He's like, I made E.T. then.
I can
It's
do
a lot
E.T.,
more friendly.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. Small screen score.
Oh, yeah, sure. My score would be... I think I'm going to go for a 4 because that's the only place I've seen it and I keep coming back to it, so...
4.5 again for me because, like I say, that's where I saw it, and seeing it on a really small screen almost gave it a different kind of potency. And like I say, my memories of it are with kind of terrible sound and like the picture being fuzzy and it being doing that horrible
tracking
squashy thing that they used to do on TV where it they'd cut the edges off and the top off. So it kind of added something to it in a weird way. So yeah, I'd say 4.
Helen?
4.5.
I'm also going to go for a 4. I've only ever seen it on a TV size screen, but yeah, I'd kind of be interested in maybe catching some other John Carpenters on a big screen in the Prince Charles style.
I'd say 4.
Yeah.
I think it was fine. I think because it's old school special effects will probably work better. They have stood the test of time better than they would have done if it was CGI, even though obviously the CGI then would have been the worst.
Yeah.
Engagement score.
I mean, the moment this film starts, those opening shots and the following the dog on the helicopter, I'm just in it for the 1 hour 48 minutes, and I'll just anytime I catch it, I'm just going to stay with it. So for me, it's a 5.
I would agree. Yeah, I'd give it a 5. It's an incredibly gripping film. Really kind of just takes, you feel like you're in that place with them. There's no way I would turn it off if I started watching it.
Yeah, I'm also going to go for a 5 on this one. Watching it again, even though I kind of vaguely knew what was going on, it is just really good, and it doesn't really give you many clues as to who's what or what is going to happen next, because you've seen so much weird shit. You're like, well, anything could happen, and you kind of have to pay attention so that you're like, oh, did that person do that thing? And you have to. It's rewarding to give it your full attention.
Because I think the first time I watched it, I was wasn't paying that much attention. Second time I did pay more because I was trying to figure out if there was a pattern or you could see, but then I couldn't figure it out. So if I watch it again, I don't think I'll be paying that much attention again. So I'm going to even that out as a 4.
So you've literally only seen it twice?
Yeah, literally only seen it twice.
Okay.
So that gives us a score of 4.26875.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So we reached out to guys on Twitter. In this case, said we are reviewing The Thing with DC _Litchfield. And at Sam Gilbey, have you seen it? Tells your thoughts for an on-air shout out on Flixwatcher. I mean, this is the scene that terrified. This GIF is the scene that terrified David as a youngster.
Many childhood memories coming back there.
We had a few responses, guys. Sam, do you want to lead us off with the first one?
Sure. So we have from the Countdown Pod, which is the Countdown Pod PC, the greatest horror film ever made, bar none, hands down. No more bets. Thanks for coming. 5 stars.
David, we got.
So Patrick Mann. The scene that really stuck with me is when the wolf in the kennel morphs into the thing. Absolutely terrifying scene. Gives it 5 out of 5.
Yep.
Visceral, gory, gritty. Even as the viewer, you want to run out into the freezing Antarctic tundra to spare yourself. But the monster can be anyone, even you. Terrifying film. I agree wholeheartedly.
That really had an effect on Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick.
He's smiling in his avatar. But
Are you sure he wasn't smiling watching the
Patrick
thing?
needs to go and watch E.T., I think, as a palate cleanser.
Calm down, man.
And then for Screen and Country, a BFI podcast, they gave it 5 stars. This might be my favourite horror movie of all time.
And Sam, do you want to finish?
Yeah, sure. So the Indie Film Review, which is at Indie Film Pod. Maybe we're at war with Norway. 5 stars.
Fantastic.
There's so many amazing lines in this film.
Yeah, a lot of love for it on Twitter, deservedly so.
Yeah.
Can you sign off, guys, by telling people where they can find you online and say bye to everyone who's listening?
Yeah, so I am Sam Gilbey on Twitter and Instagram. And I've got a Facebook page, which is Sam Gilbey Illustrates.
And you can buy anything you do, anything you sell go to your Instagram.
Yeah.
Go to both your Instagrams to see the kind of artwork that you guys do, certainly. So when DC Litchfield tells you your Instagram, go there and look at the stuff, buy the badges and the posters and the books, I guess.
Absolutely. Everyone's welcome.
So, yeah, you can find me on Instagram as David_C_Litchfield and on Twitter as DC_Litchfield.
Didn't get there first with
I was
Litchfield.
way behind everyone else.
Way behind the curve.
But also davidlitchfieldillustration.com. There's links to all my stuff on there. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very
Thanks so
much,
much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed this episode of Flixwatcher podcast? Why not leave us a 5-star review on iTunes? You can also follow us at FlixWatcherPod on Twitter, and we're at FlixWatcher on Instagram. Thanks as always to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and Ben from Rockwood Audio for his awesome editing skills. If you're looking to get your podcast edited as sweet as this, get in touch with Ben, and that's Rockwood, ROKK Wood Audio. Tell them Flixwatcher sent you.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.